Good day and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the voice of reason. In today's coverage of the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia, the fighting continues. As the conflict has progressed, as we have seen the Ethiopian National Defense Forces make some objectives in terms of having the ability to move north, fend off the Tigrayan Defense Force offensive that was threatening both Debre Berhan and then quite possibly Addis Ababa. And then we have seen the ENDF move into, and the Amhara regional allies move into Dese and Kombolcha, and then continue a bit north. And as we had suspected, the Tigrayan Defense Forces would make a stand within the vicinity of Wegtena and Mersa and Weldia and areas west and east of Weldia as well. We can confirm that as of right now, the Tigrayan Defense Forces are standing firm within the areas of Weldia and the areas west and just south of Weldia as well. We can confirm that Mersa is contested and fighting continues in and around Mersa or just south of Mersa. We can also confirm there has been a small scale counteroffensive by the Tigrayan Defense Forces within the vicinity of Gashina, right in this area. And it would appear to be a multi-prong offensive from Wegatena and Weldia, in which quite possibly they are looking to retake control possibly of Gashina. But again, right now, the lines in terms of the capabilities of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces and its ability to continue to progress north seem to have stalled out a bit. Again, we're not seeing the same type of rapid advance that was taking place earlier as the Tigrayan Defense Forces began to withdraw from areas like Debrecen and Shia Robot and Kamise under the weathering onslaught of Turkish-made TB2 drones and Chinese Wing Loon drones as well. Now, what is exactly happening in regards to the support that the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Abiy loyalists, have obtained from Turkey, from China, from the United Arab Emirates? And it would seem that initially, it would appear at least, the Turkish forces have agreed to assist the Abiy loyalists in the prevention of having Addis Ababa fall by the onslaught of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Now, with that being said, it would also appear that the Turkish support quite possibly doesn't extend past making sure Addis Ababa does not fall. So we have received some information that would indicate from the Turkish political side of the equation that would indicate again that Turkey was interested in stopping the TDF from seizing control of Addis Ababa, as was the People's Republic of China and the United Arab Emirates. But beyond giving those guarantees that they would attempt to, and it was fairly successful in terms of being able to stop the TDF's advance, that is probably right now, in terms of direct kinetic support, the Abiy loyalists are going to get. Our understanding is both from a perspective of Turkish support, from Chinese support, from United Arab Emirates support. They are very leery of getting in too deep into this civil war and continuing to support the Abiy loyalists, at least from a military viewpoint, a military standpoint, in the ongoing conflict. So again, once we start seeing a decrease in drone activity, once we start to see a decrease in the direct intelligence support by Turkey, then quite possibly things could change again on the ground. Again, very, very difficult for the Tigrayan Defense Forces to operate, especially near Debre Berhan and Shia Robot, and then obviously towards Kamise. Again, we were seeing fairly significant assets operating out of the Hara Meta Airport, in which it's the main Ethiopian Air Force base, in which we were seeing again Turkish TB2 drones armed with the MAML missile, and then obviously Chinese wing loon drones. The attacks on Mekelle, in all probability, were being carried out by the wing loon. Again, the wing loon has greater range than the TB2. However, the TB2 has more accurate weapon systems and better optronics. So again, in terms of the fighting near Debre Berhan and Shia Robot, again, we were seeing those Turkish drones being utilized at night and in a much more clandestine manner than we were seeing the Turkish wing loon drones, where we were actively seeing some of those in the middle of the day, at very high altitudes. Again, those drones are long distance drones. They are able to operate at a fairly high altitude, but again, some of their PGMs, their precision guided munitions, and obviously their optronics are just not of the same quality of the TB2 drone that the Turks supplied with direct NATO support in terms of both optics and engines from Austria, and then obviously the data links are fairly effective too, in which the payload specialist can maintain a good a track with the vehicle and observe what is going on the ground. If those data links are disrupted and you don't have good connectivity, then obviously the payload specialist is not going to be able to continue to see what's happening on the ground, and then obviously the optronics makes a difference as well. But again, right now, it would appear at least the situation near Weldia has more or less stabilized for the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Again, counterattacks near Gashina, and quite possibly we could see some operations within the vicinity of Lalibela as well. But again, that is the current status on the ground, at least in the area of operations. Within the area of Weldia and Mersa. Again, it would also appear that a second line of defensive operational deployments are underway near Kobo as well. Again, the primary area of defense in terms of having the ability to defend the areas near Weldia, west of Weldia, east of Weldia, is much better because of the terrain that is near Weldia. When you get to Kobo, it becomes much more flatter, at least near the city itself. Now, obviously, to the east and to the west, it's a bit more hilly. But again, Kobo is fairly flat and does not provide the best terrain for defensive operations. Again, as I talked about earlier in previous videos, I suspected that the Tigrayan Defense Forces would make a stand near Weldia, given the terrain. I won't pull up my Google map and show you guys. You can go to a previous video and see my explanation in terms of why I felt that Weldia was optimal for a setting up a defensive perimeter, and even in the past, within the last several weeks, we have seen the Tigrayan Defense Forces start to prepare Weldia in the areas near Weldia in terms of defensive operations. But again, the next line of defense obviously would be Kobo, and then quite possibly past that, then you're actually getting into the Tigray region, and then you would see fighting probably near Alamata and Korim if the Amhara regional militias and the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Abiy loyalists, are able to press past Weldia and especially a Kobo Robot. I also think Kobo Robot is a fairly good area for defensive operations in terms of the areas that the Tigrayan Defense Forces like to operate in. So again, we would probably see, if we saw a fallback from Weldia, which there's no indication that is taking place, by the way. It would appear that the TDF is fighting for Weldia. Again, the next would be Kobo Robot. Again, the town between Kobo and Weldia. Again, very hilly, mountainous terrain, indicative of the terrain that the Tigrayan Defense Forces likes to fight in. Next, Kobo. If the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Abiy militias, are able to get past Weldia and Kobo Robot, I would imagine that Kobo would probably fall very quickly. And then we're looking at then operations actually in the southern areas of the Tigray region, if in fact the Ethiopian National Defense Forces and the Amhara regional militias decide to move into southern Tigray. But we have it on good hand right now that the Abiy loyalists and the Amhara regional militias are suffering from fairly significant battlefield fatigue. Many of these units have been operating for many months now. Many of these units have been beyond decimated. In some cases, we've seen some units be reduced by as much to 60 to 80%, and we've seen a lot of units simply dissolve because they've been destroyed in zone. But again, that is what is happening on the ground right now. We suspect, again, that without heavy involvement of Turkish forces, Turkish support, Chinese support in the form of not just advanced drone technology, but other support methods as well, to include direct kinetic operations on the ground in terms of special operations operators, especially from the Turkish side of the equation. We can expect that right now the Abiy loyalists and the Amhara regional militias are going to have significant difficulties in advancing past Weldia. But again, this conflict continues to evolve and change. Is it possible we're looking at something much different in the next few weeks in regards to territory changing hands? Yes, absolutely. And again, it goes for both sides of the coin. I talked about before about momentum swings. We can obviously see that. Again, we are seeing some limited operations right now in terms of counteroffensives by the Tigrayan Defense Forces within the vicinity of Gashina, and also some movements near Lalibela as well. But we will continue to monitor the situation and report. We are also watching closely what is happening in western Tigray as well. At some point, possibly in the future, we could see an operation to retake western Tigray by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. But again, most of the operations right now continue to be in and around Weldia, and especially we're seeing an uptick in activity near Gashina as well. But again, we'll have more to come very soon. Have a good day, everybody.